Hello, welcome to Sound and Fairy Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I am back from vacation and I'm doing a book review of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1818. I know there's like a 1938 version or something too, but this was the one that Amazon had. So, this is a classic kind of gothic mystery, kind of sci-fi. People argue a little bit, and I would agree with that. It's a bit of a sci-fi. Yeah, it's definitely not like a fantasy. I read this book because it had been years since I first read it. I think I was probably 17 or so, and so it's been about 20 years. Um, yes, 21 years now since I had a birthday last week. So Rod Gilly tagged me in his first TBR and tag video on his channel, and I said I wouldn't read this based on that video, and I always have to do tags that people tag me in. So, a fascinating book about a man who definitely did not follow Ian Malcolm's advice in Jurassic Park. Frankenstein is worthy of being a classic. But first, I have a bit of a sponsored post today, and this is a book about another undead monster. It is a paranormal thriller called IRL, meaning in real life. If you're a gamer, you already knew that. And it is a really fun book with Last of Us vibes. I'm not doing a review of it because that would be disingenuous because I'm affiliated with the author, so that would be weird, but I did say that I would hype their book on my channel. The cover is really fun. I think it's beautiful. And because I read it early, I can tell you it's an absolute blast while also retaining some serious themes. And here's what it's about. I'm going to tell you it's really fun. Nora Grace Moon thought her toughest challenge this semester would be managing her OCD, but when her deceased roommate turns up as a reanimated corpse, her world starts to collapse. When her uncle sends her a cryptic message, Nora realizes it must be a call for help. She reaches out to fellow gamer Wesley for advice, a U.S. Marshal with real-life skills for tactical survival and not just in-game. They venture out into a world that is growing more and more deadly by the moment. Not only are the undead spreading, but other humans are taking advantage of the societal breakdown. And unknown to Nora and Wesley, they have been targeted by an ancient archaeological society who will stop at nothing until they have what Nora has, an artifact that will unleash a new world order of the undead. It's really fun. So yeah, if you like The Last of Us, if you like zombies, if you like The Walking Dead, if you like a bit of spice, there's a bit of spice in this that's really nice. And if you like characters that are more complex than the typical kind of thriller characters, like Nora really wrestles with her OCD, and it's done in a very respectful, kind of realistic way. And then Wesley actually suffers from a bit of PTSD from abuse from his mother when he was a child, which is something that you don't see often. It's more usually like the father. So that was a really interesting kind of dynamic that they had, and both of them have trust issues. There is a character with a disability in here. He's in a wheelchair and he still manages to kick ass, which is awesome because we don't see that enough either. It's got a lot of really, really great stuff in it, and so yeah, I highly recommend you check it out. It's out actually today. It's launch day, so happy launch day, IRL. And you can find it anywhere you get books, and it's going to be on Audible in I think 2 weeks or something like that as well. So that's that. Let's move on to Frankenstein. So I'm not going to tell you what Frankenstein is about because you already know it's like a huge part of our culture. I'm just not going to talk about the back cover doesn't even say what it is. It just talks about this particular version of it. So yeah. So this book, if you haven't read it, it is a lot different from the movies that portray the monster as this lumbering zombie-like thing, except for the 1993 Kenneth Branagh version, which I heard is actually accurate. I have not seen it. The book carries a lot of themes in it. The most obvious one to me is the idea of responsibility. How much responsibility does Frankenstein bear for the actions of the monster? How much responsibility does the monster bear, given it was awoken or born into the world, but without any guiding principles from his creator or his parent, in a sense? This opens up a whole slew of interesting questions about nature versus nurture, a very common Gothic quandary, parenting, obsession, and ethics and morals. It's a fascinating, deep novel that gives rise to so many questions and ideas. It's also incredibly short. Like, most of this is just preface and introduction and addendum and timeline. They put a whole bunch of crap in here so they can charge more money. Now, this is also a 19th century novel. People who aren't used to reading books from this era likely aren't aware that they are all dry, in a sense, because the style and narrative we expect from novels now is that of postmodernism, or at least retains the aspects of postmodernism that become normal for us in our literature. 19th century or classic novels also use a broader language palette than contemporary novels of today, literary fiction aside, so sometimes it does feel bogged down by weighty language. I enjoy that language though, so it didn't bother me. I just want to give everybody a warning. And the structure in this one is quite engaging, being a frame story in 3, or was it 4, aspects. I can't remember. The characters are fine. Frankenstein, as in Victor Frankenstein, wasn't obsessed enough, though, in my mind. The novel, probably due to like decency laws at the time, skips over where he gets the parts for his monster's body, and he also never stops to think about whether what he's doing could be morally wrong. I wonder if there was a lot more, but then she had to cut it out for publication because it seems like it's missing a chunk. That's probably what it was. In fact, Frankenstein is a lot like Jurassic Park. You have scientists who are more interested in results than consequences, and we have creations that run amok. I'm not saying we halt scientific progress or anything like that, but this novel and Jurassic Park do show that if you do take things a step too far, you need to take onus for your mistakes, which is something that Victor refuses to do, and that's also part of the conflict of the novel. The novel is also incredibly sad, not only because the monster is treated so horribly simply because of his appearance, but because entirely innocent people, children, suffer too. Had Victor simply not bolted when he saw the monster, like a wuss, I might add, all this might have been avoided. You know, if he had just had compassion, the ending, and he would have had a wife, he would have had a brother, he would have had a whole bunch of other people that he didn't have in the end. That was a spoiler. Sorry about that. I had read it years ago, like I said, and I was happy to revisit it. So thank you to Rod for propelling me into a revisitation of Frankenstein and his monster, sometimes also called Frankenstein. Yeah, so thank you everybody for watching, and definitely check out IRL. If Frankenstein's not your deal, this might be really fun. So yeah.